Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me for our webinar this morning on engaging and retaining your best employees. Because I know that this is a challenge for so many of us. We spend so much time investing in people to become part of our vision for our organization, and then they leave. And the question that I have for you this morning is, if you realize that you could change one thing, just one thing, to create a culture that you and your team will thrive in. So this is not about surviving, this is thriving. Would you do it? Because I imagine that this is not the first webinar, or you've at least read a blog or an article, listen to a podcast, something about this topic, because it is a topic that we are always looking for. What can we do to keep our best team members? And I know it can get frustrating because I've been there in terms of what do we do? And I want to start this webinar with just saying, you don't know what you don't know, because I didn't know what I didn't know. And now that I know, I'm sharing it with you. That was a mouthful. And we get to learn some new things today. And I'm super excited about sharing these things with you, because if you are like me, sometimes employee challenges are the things that keep us awake at night. And, you know, my goal is to get you back to sleep, because we don't want your folks worrying about what's going on at the competition. We want the competition's people to want to come work for you. So whatever's happened up until now doesn't matter. This is about setting you, your team, your customers, your shareholders, if you happen to have any. And you know what? We can even go as far as your family, because what we do professionally impacts us personally. This is about creating the culture that absolutely everybody loves and will get us to that next level. So why are we talking about this today? Well, I don't know if you realize it, but the Bureau of Labor and Statistics predicts that 26 to 27% of your employees will quit this year. And that is staggering. And the question is, how is that going to impact your business? Because we can't bury our head in the sand. It's not going to do us any good. So we got to get out ahead of the curve and figure out, what are we going to do different? Because you know the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing and expecting different results. We have got to do something different to create the culture in the community, in our organization, that people want to be there. And so let's get out ahead of it. Now, before we get any further, I want to talk about if this webinar is for you, because I don't want to waste your time today if it's not. So it is for you if you are a business owner and you've got employees, if you are in a C-suite or some kind of an executive position, if you're in HR or the talent part of an organization, if you manage direct reports of any kind. And honestly, if you just want to learn about this topic, this is absolutely the place for you. Now, some of these might be the challenges that you have as it relates to people, retention, engagement, right? So specifically, we put those in the title. Culture. We're going to talk a lot about that, because it's the culture that impacts the retention and engagement. Are we growing effective leaders? Motivation in the workforce can be a big issue. Hiring the right person. And of course, the cost of training those people as well. So this webinar is for you if you have any of those challenges, and if you are in any of those roles that we just talked about. Now, my promise to you today is that I'm going to give you the tools to engage and keep your best team members. Because once you do that, you can focus on growing your business instead of spending time and money hiring and training, rehiring and retraining. You know the drill. And I'm also going to introduce you to what's known as integral leadership, because this is the piece that's going to be brand new for you today, that's going to have you looking at your team and your business, your area of responsibility, whatever that is for you, through a brand new lens. And again, if we don't change something, we're not going to get different results. And furthermore, I'm going to earn your trust by giving you way more value than what you would normally expect from a 1-hour webinar. Now, I really want you to stick with me through the entire presentation because it contains a lot of material, and it's important that you see the whole picture. So if you stay until the end, what I'm going to give you is a free 60-minute personal integral vision session. Doesn't mean anything to you right now. I get that. However, once you stick around for the next hour, you are going to see the value of doing this session in terms of really understanding that integral lens as it relates to you personally. We got to start there, then we can look at it from a business perspective. So the question that I have for you is, would you like to know where your life is out of alignment? Because that's what that will do. So you just got to stick around for the next 60 or so minutes. That's it. And while you're here, for you to get anything out of this presentation, turn off your cell phones, turn off Facebook. If you're serious about keeping your top performers, building a high-performing team, and getting better results, right? Because that's what it's all about. The next 60 minutes will change your business, and this is kind of a big thing to say, but it will positively impact your life, because when we change something in our world, it impacts everything. Now, who the heck am I? My name is Barb Moses, and I'm the CEO and the founder of High Five Leadership. And you will see up in the upper right-hand corner, that is my team over here at High Five. And what we do is we deliver transformational leadership experiences. What the heck is that? Well, you'll see in the lower left, 3 words: trust, transparency, and teamwork. Because what we are in the business of is building high performance teams. Now, I did this early on in my career. So I spent 21 years in corporate America before I started doing transformational leadership kinds of programs. And in that 21 years, I made a lot of mistakes. I figured some stuff out. And then I went to a program much like I teach today, and I really had my eyes open to what it means to be part of a high performance team. I had no idea until I actually experienced it. Once I experienced it, I was able to take that experience back into my workplace and create a high performance team. And so once I applied it, I realized that there was something to this, and I made a commitment that I would do whatever I could do in my lifetime to help transform corporate America into truly having high performance teams. So whatever the size of your business, it doesn't matter. What would it look like to have a high performance team? And it's super simple, but it's not easy, because the 3 components of a high performance team are trust. And that trust is not only with our team members, but with ourselves first and foremost. And then it's transparency. It's breaking down the walls so we can truly communicate and relate with each other. That's how we get to team. That's the foundation of everything that we do here at High Five Leadership. You'll see I'm also an avid hiker. I had an opportunity in September of 2017 to hike the Inca Trail. So it was a 3-day hike. We're supposed to be 4, but we did it in 3. But a 3-day hike to Machu Picchu in Peru. One of the great adventures of my life. And as we get to know each other further down the line, I've got lots of stories around different things that I've done, because one of my mottos is I go first. So I'm out there living life, having life happen because of me. And now I dedicate my life to building high performance teams, giving people the experience of that so they can go back and build it in all areas of their life. All right, so that's me in a nutshell. because I want to get into what this is about. Because I want you to imagine what your life will be like when you have a happy, high-performing team. A team that is focused on an outcome and gets results. When you have a culture that you and your team absolutely love. So we're not talking about the culture, we're living that culture. Where people want to come to work for you instead of leave you for the competition. And like I said earlier, the people at the competition actually want to come to work for you. You spend your resources growing your business instead of on having to hire and train replacements. That gets really super frustrating, and we don't need to live in that frustration. And also imagine what your life will be like when you understand how to keep your business aligned with your team, your customers, and with yourself. So the questions that I'm going to ask you in this moment is, how will that impact your business? And as important, how will that impact your life? When you can do that for your area of responsibility, for your business, whatever that is for you, how will that impact? So, let me go back. There we go. So the question always is, do we get results? The work that we do. And the best way that I can show you some of the results that we've gotten is through this really short 90-second video. I'm just asking you to watch it. And I happened to grab this. He didn't even know that I was taping it in the moment, and then I got his approval to use it. But this is Paul Eaton. He's the Chief Operations Officer, the COO for Pohanka of Salisbury. That's a group of 7 car dealerships in Salisbury, Maryland. And we had just done a class for 30 of their team members, and it was a 3-day class. This was the day after. So the day after, they always bring the new graduates back, and all of the other graduates come and they get to hear about their experience. So Paul is kicking it off with a very short little conversation that I just want you to listen to.
How grateful I am for that graduation. That was pretty amazing stuff. But can I have your permission to take you back in time for just a minute? In 2013, I met Mark. Our company was struggling, you know, like the times. And we learned a lot from her. And as more people went to see Barb, things started to change. The fourth quarter of 2014 was a record. 2015 was a record. 2016 bested our best as a record. And now 2017 is a record. So with that said, I need your help. I need you all to walk through these halls with your chests out, being enthusiastic and carrying us into 2018. I want to let you know that this happiness is a gift. You can have as much of it as you want. It's your choice. Tracking yes or no? Yes! You can't let anybody take it from you. Nobody can take it from you. It's yours to own. Got it? Got it. Yes. All right, with that said, Dan. All right, guys, good morning.
Uh-oh. All right, and we're back. So results speak for themselves. What is available when we build high-performing teams, and that particular team continues to break records month after month after month. So what are we going to cover today? 3 things that you can do immediately to keep your top performers from even looking for another job. Some of them are very simple, but the question is, are you doing them? Secret number 2, how to make your communication more conscious and why that is an integral piece to the culture that you want in your organization. And then secret number 3, why what's getting your attention might be leaving your team wondering why they are even there. Why they are even there. So we're going to start kind of David Letterman style with secret number 3, and we're going to work our way backwards. Why what's getting your attention might be leaving your team wondering why they are even there. So what is possible when you look at 100% of your business or your area of responsibility, not just 25%? Because what I'm going to submit is that's about what you're looking at, and spending all of your time is on 25%. Because what gets your attention gets you. So the question is, as a leader, what is getting your attention? It is important as leaders that we look at the whole picture of what is going on in your business, in your branch, in your department, whatever, again, that area of responsibility is for you. So we're going to jump right in. I promised you value. So what I need you to do is I need you to get out a piece of paper and a pen. You will be taking notes, because if you don't take notes, likely you won't do anything with the information that you're about to receive. And knowledge is only powerful when it is applied. So go ahead and take out a piece of paper and a pen. If for some reason you're at some point listening to this and you cannot do that, then just know that we're going to send you the recording and you'll be able to come back later and do that. So those of you that have that pen and paper out, here's what I want you to draw. I just want you to take that piece of paper and I want you to draw this 4-part grid. All right, so looks like 4 quadrants. Now, for the upper part, the upper 2 quadrants on the top, that's going to be titled individual. All right, and then down below, you're going to have the collective. So talking about one person versus talking about a group of people. All right, then we're going to fill in the rest of the quadrants. Over to the left-hand column is going to be interior, inside. So that is about the things that are internal to us. The other side is exterior. And so we're going to talk about all of this in a moment, and how that all fits. Now, that interior, right, that's the subjective, the things like motivation, beliefs, interpretations, feelings, perception, self-awareness, emotional intelligence, how every single person views their world. So they view the world through their own lens. Now, the right half is the exterior or the objective. These are the things that we can actually see and observe externally, like behaviors, actions, economics, processes, the physical environment. All right, so that is the foundation. We're going to fill in these boxes in a moment, but I need to give you a little bit more information before we do that. So I talked about this thing called integral leadership. So let's jump into that. What does that mean? And integral leadership is a theory that incorporates all other leadership theories. So it's the theory of theories. And what's really super cool about this is it finally recognizes that one size does not fit all when we are talking about people. There's 7 billion of us on the planet, and we all view the world differently, and we need different things to be successful. So now I've been studying and I've been practicing leadership for many years, well over 20 years. And as I said, I've been doing and leading transformational leadership classes. It wasn't until I learned about integral that everything started to make more sense for me. And because of our short time together today, I'm only going to be able to give you a little bit of a taste for what integral is, but I want you to start to realize that there is a bigger picture out there. So my outcome from this first secret is to give you a lens to your business that you likely have not looked through up until now. So now integral theory comes from the work of philosopher Ken Wilber. So integral leadership is based on integral theory. And he put together the models that I'm going to share with you today. And he took that work from many, many, many different theorists. So this is not just his theory. This is combining all of the theories. Now, there are many others who have taken Ken's work and applied it into areas such as leadership. So that's the studying that I've been doing and applying in my business and helping others apply in theirs. So two of my favorite people that I use a lot of their work is John Foreman and Laurel Ross. And I have personally studied Integral through my mentor or coach, Dr. Matt Kreinheder. So this is something that just really started to make sense, and I'm excited to share it with you because this is what is different that says, oh, I get that I've been missing a piece. This is that one piece that we were talking about. So what does integral even mean? What does it mean? Well, integral as a definition means essential to the whole, essential to the whole. So let's take a look at it. So that circle represents your organization. All of the little people in there are the people in your organization. And here in the red, you have one of your top performers, all right? And the question that I would ask you to ask yourself is, does that top performer see where they are essential? And another way to ask that is, do they know they would leave a hole in achieving the why this company exists? So the organization has a why. If you don't have a why, we need to start there. But why do we exist? What is our purpose, right? And if the people in your organization don't know how they impact the purpose or the why of the organization, how they're going to leave a hole, they likely are not going to stick around because they are not being fulfilled in making a difference in something in the world. We find this to be more and more true as the millennials are in the workplace because they have more of that awareness and desire to be part of a why. But it's true for everybody. As we'll talk about a little bit later, even those baby boomers, we actually want a lot of purpose in our life as well. So, and I happen to be like right on the cusp of the baby boomer Gen X area. So that's what integral is essential to the whole. And it's an important place to start. So the question that I have for you is, I want you to put this in real dollars and cents. What does it cost you a year to fill those holes? So when people who are good employees leave your company, what does that cost you? So think about hiring costs, right? The recruiting costs, onboarding them, training them, the loss of productivity, the impact it has on your customers. Take your best guess at what that costs you per year. And I just want you to write it down on the back side of that paper you're drawing on someplace, because I want you to really get clear about what that costs. Because the longer that someone works for you, the higher the cost to replace. All right, let's make it real. All right, so let's go back to this diagram and let's fill it in. So I want you to write this stuff down because then it's going to make more sense. So one of the first and best uses of integral thinking is mapping out that organization's purpose that we just talked about, which is really its intention with the principles and processes that will govern it. So I want to take a really simplified look at this map and it's going to make more sense. Now in the upper left-hand quadrant, that is the I quadrant. It is the quadrant that represents the inner workings of each individual in the workplace. So individual, interior, right? So it is all of the stories, the thoughts, the emotions happening within us that no one else can see. All right, they can't observe them unless we do something that is then observable. However, it is what we use to make sense and give meaning to our life and our world. That's what we do. We make meaning of things. It includes what we value, what motivates us, and Also our degree of self-awareness. The things that you see in that box, those are the things that make up the internal individual. Right, so want to make sure that you're sticking with me, but that's the I quadrant. Now in the upper right-hand quadrant we're still at the individual, but we're talking about the external things. This is what we call the behavioral quadrant, because we can observe these behaviors, right? Now, these are the individual actions that people take. This is their appearance, the skills that they actually demonstrate, their knowledge, how healthy they are, how they respond to stress. Those are the things that you can see about their behaviors, right? It is the external representation of what's going on internally, right? So you can already start to see how one impacts the other. All right, so those are the I quadrant, the it quadrant. Now, we're going to move down into the lower right-hand quadrant. That is our systems quadrant. And again, if you don't get all of this down, I'm going to send you the replay. You can always go back and watch it. Just want you to start to connect to what creates the whole purpose, the whole organization. So we're looking at the whole organization now. Now, the it's quadrant, this is collective. So this is for everyone. This is for the group. So this is for your whole organization. And it's the exterior, the things, again, that we can see. Now, so this is things like our processes and our procedures and our reporting structures, our products, our materials, our HR systems, right? That is what all of our systems are. This is how we make things happen within the organization. And then finally, the lower left is the we quadrant. So it's the internal motivations, but it's for the group. It's where people create, share, and sometimes argue about meaning making, right? Because they're bringing what they have in the upper left-hand quadrant into the culture, and they all look at it through a little bit different lens. So we've got to come up with, what does that look like? This is what the culture of the organization, this is where it gets to. What is the vision of the organization? What are the guiding principles of our organization? What are the values, the group norms, the relationships, the common language? What is normal? What's done around here? So the question that I have for you is, when there is a challenge in your organization where something isn't working, where you know something's out of alignment, where do you typically go to fix it? And I want you to be just 100% honest with yourself. Where do you usually go? And this may not be true for 100% of you, but for most of you, you go right here. You do. We figure out, what can we change about the process to fix it? Because honestly, for a lot of us, we don't want to get involved in the people part of it because it's scary, because everybody's different. We can make one single process, and if we can do that, then that should fix it all. That feels safer to us than actually taking on the real issue, which is the people. But if we do this, if we're only focused on, excuse my writing here, 25%. Most of the time we are focusing 100% of our attention on 25% of the equation. So if you're wondering why it's not working, that's why it's not working. And I hope that's a relief, right? To realize that there is a reason it's not working. When there is not alignment in the quadrants, leadership appears incongruent, right? It's not in alignment and is not perceived as trustworthy. And that's why those holes happen. If the people can't trust what's going on in the organization, they're going to go look for someplace where they can trust what's going on. It doesn't mean that you're not trustworthy. It means it's out of alignment. It doesn't feel good. And so it's not flowing for them. And in some cases, these quadrants are actually in conflict with each other. So let's start to connect some dots, because this is where the power is, right? So talking about retaining your top employees, what do you think would have the greatest impact? Which quadrant could you have the greatest impact on them? And hopefully you said up here. You may or may not have, but the point that I need you to understand is it all starts in the I quadrant for each of us. We have to know who we are and what we're bringing to this game before we can understand how we're impacting the score on the scoreboard. And that's why it's important to do that. So, because this was really true for me in my last organization, it was completely out of alignment with some of my values, and it was like, this isn't working for me, and in that case leaving was the right answer for me. So it starts with I. Now let's take it a step further and think about how the different quadrants impact. So the more that I get in touch with myself and understand myself, the more self-aware I am, the more emotional intelligence that I have, that is going to impact my behaviors. I'm assuming you can see that pretty easily, right? And it's also going to impact how I show up in the culture. So we can show that influence. Now, how our behaviors, that's going to directly impact systems, and the culture is going to impact our systems as well. And now systems, see, ideally we think that systems are going to drive behaviors. That's why we always come back and we do systems. And my question is, how is that really working out for you? And it probably isn't. There may be some compliance, right? So the most you can hope for is some compliance up here in behaviors. However, you are not likely going to get buy-in and ownership. You are not going to get that until you deal with the whole person over here. And this is true for a department. It is also true for your family, a social group. When we take all of it into consideration, we can see the whole picture, and then we can apply the right steps to take to get to our desired outcome. So there's so much to talk about here, but I want you to understand that part of the problem is the fact that you've probably only been looking at about 25% of what's going on in your organization, in your area of responsibility. And until we look at the entirety of it, we are going to have challenges. It's almost like having a flat tire, right? So if we're only looking here, that part's flat, or maybe all three of these are flat actually, and that's the only part that's got any air. So that's the big piece of this. I'm hoping that you are still with me. Important. If you have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat, and we'll make sure that we get them answered. Be happy to do that. So let me clear all of this drawing, get rid of this. So if your team members don't feel essential, what's keeping them? What's keeping them? And I don't know if you've noticed that throughout this presentation, one of the things that I've done is I've asked a lot of questions. Because the more questions that you ask yourself, then you spend the time thinking about it, the more that we can do to change things. It's not about brainstorming an answer. It's about brainstorming what questions do we need to answer. But if you can't come up with what's keeping your team members there, then it's likely time to look at it from an integral perspective. So what does that mean? What do we need to do? The organization needs to have a defined purpose and vision that's in alignment with what the people that you have there, the systems, the processes, it has to all be in alignment. We need to ensure that each team member knows how they are essential to the whole. If we just think they're going to figure it out, they're going to be out the door, and we're going to be the ones figuring it out. We've got to help them connect the dots and see that from the moment that they apply for our organization. And just because they've been there for 5 years doesn't mean that it's always going to be the same. So got to stay in touch. We need to put together a plan that gives equal attention to all 4 areas, all 4 of those quadrants for your business to run in alignment. And this is just one component of integral leadership. So I want to move on to our next secret. Again, just enough to get you thinking about what is that one thing that you are willing to do different, because it starts with you. All right. Secret number 2, putting it into perspective, upping our communication skills by understanding what we call worldview. So this is another piece of integral, or what's called worldviews. All right. They need to be, our people not only need to know how they impact the whole, they need to feel like they're being seen and heard for who they are. So the questions that we're going to answer in secret number 2 is, what does it mean to be a conscious communicator? Because we communicate all the time, but we're not very effective at it quite often. And a lot of times we are not communicating consciously. So what does that mean? And answering the question, how can we both say the same thing, and both meaning 2 different people, say the same thing and mean something different? You know that you have had that experience either at work or at home where you're saying the same thing and you have 2 entirely different meanings. It is likely because you are coming from a different worldview, and we're going to talk about that. So there is a lot of science out there that tells us that we are only present truly in our conscious about 10% of the time. So being present means we're aware, we're conscious, we're making very purposeful choices, and we can expand our perspectives. We can see something more. We're really only conscious 10% of our day. The other 90% of the day, we are coming from our programming. And most of that programming happens before we're 7 years old, right? It's all of the things that we learn in those first years, and they make up our belief system. It is all of the stories that we were told early on, and we keep repeating those stories. And as a result, our actions and our behaviors are just as a result of our programming. It's not even that we're consciously thinking about, is this the right thing that will get me to my outcome? I'm back in my comfort zone, you'll see down there, and I'm just operating from my comfort zone. What's easiest, what's comfortable. I am asleep, I'm on autopilot. So think about this in terms of programming, because sometimes I get pushback about, oh, you know, I'm way more awake than that. Well, think about it. You set your alarm probably for the same time every day. You probably hit the snooze button the same amount of times if you happen to be a snoozer. You get up, you go to the bathroom, you brush your teeth, you get dressed, take a shower. Well, you probably take a shower, then get dressed, have your coffee, whatever. But you probably have the same routine. You get in your car, you drive the same way to work. You might talk to different people, but you have the same kinds of conversations. You do the same kind of work. You get in your car, you drive home, and you do it all again the next day. And we just go back to our programming again and again and again. It gives us very limited perspectives as it relates to that. So it's super important when we talk about being conscious in our communications is that we are truly present and in the moment when we are communicating with somebody. This happens a lot when we're listening, because we are not even hearing what somebody else is saying to us. We are actually coming up with our own story about whatever they're talking about, and we didn't even hear what they said. And that also happens through seeing. So some of you maybe have seen this, but what is the first thing that you see when you see this picture? Because what I want you to know is it doesn't matter what you say to somebody else. What matters is what they hear. And it doesn't matter what you show them. You could both be looking at this same picture and see something different. And most likely that is based on your programming, something in your unconscious. So conscious versus being unconscious, something in your unconscious programming that has you seeing whatever you see first. So in this picture, you're going to see what you see. Somebody else may see something different, and you're wondering, what the heck? Why are they not seeing what you see? And then they're going to tell you what they see, and you're like, it's not even there. So in this picture, you may be seeing an old woman, or you may be seeing a young woman. And if you can't see that right now, so the old woman, this is her chin, this is her mouth, this is her nose, right? This is her eye. And then she's got like dark hair and a scarf on her head. So hopefully you can see that. And for those of you that see the young woman or don't see it, this is her eyelash and her nose and her chin and her hair. She's got the feather, and you can see a young woman, and she's got this is her necklace. So the old woman's mouth is her necklace, and she's got like a fur coat on. So it's so critical to understand that a big challenge in communication, number one, is not being conscious, but number two is seeing something different. And the reason that we see something different is because we have our own frame of reference coming from our programming, and that causes us some challenges. But if we only think that what we see is the only thing that's there, we are going to cause conflict in the relationship, and we're never going to be able to see something else. So the reason that our programming, one of the reasons that our programming is different, or is what it is, I guess I'll just say, is because we have different worldviews. Those worldviews come from our programming, and it is the programming that makes things, gives things meaning in our world. So anything that happens in our world, the first thing that we want to do is we want to give it a meaning so it makes sense to us. And this is the learning that really blew my mind a year or two ago, that really changed my focus on leadership to be able to expand it, to really understand how do we create the relationships that are going to help us get to the outcome. So it's all about what is our frame of reference. So we're going to talk about these 4 different worldviews here in a moment. But before I do that, likely you have heard of the DISC behavioral profiles. So it's 4 different personalities. If you haven't, definitely want to dive into that, because it's super important. Now, when I first learned about DISC and the 4 different kinds of behaviors, it was huge for me, because I have a lot of high D tendencies. Right? I like to be in control, and I like to get shit done, right? So very much high D. And what I understood finally when I understood the DISC is that not everybody looked at the world the same way that I did. Because the people over here in the I quadrant, they just kind of want to have a party and have fun and socialize. And I'm like, get to work. and I didn't understand what was wrong with them. And it's not anything, but it's their programming. They have different programming than I did. And all of a sudden, not only did I not have to get frustrated with them, I could actually learn something from them. The same with the S's, who are the people that get the job done. You know, it's like I wanted them to be more aggressive, but you know what? I needed them to just get the job done. And they also taught me a lot about how to be more sensitive, more empathetic. And the C is very detail oriented. So 4 different behaviors approaching something the same way. And I finally realized that we are just looking through a different lens. Huge, mind-blowing for me years ago. And then there was a piece that didn't make sense, because I could be in conversation with another person in my same behavioral style, another D, for example, and we would still get a different answer. We'd still have a different perception or perspective of what was going on. And it was when I finally understood the integral worldviews and laid that over what I knew from the DISC, that's when it started to make sense, because we viewed the world differently. Now, there's no right or wrong in the worldviews. It's just where we are and what we've been taught on how we view the world. So let's take a look at the worldviews. So I'm using colors. This comes from spiral dynamics and integral theory. And I'm using the colors because a lot of the conversations happen around the colors. And again, I just want you to start seeing why certain pieces that you've been working so hard on are just not working. And again, it's not your fault because you didn't know what you didn't know, but now you can start to see parts of the whole picture. Now, as we go over these worldviews, there is not like a hard line. Somebody is just an impulsive red. No. We actually have likely pieces of this depending on different parts of our lives and our development, how we've developed along the way in different worldviews or different colors. And so it's not a hard line. It's about what we value. It's about what we value. So in the different worldviews, people are fighting for what they value most, So in the impulsive, the red that you see on the screen, so that's a very power-centric lens. And as we relate it to leadership, it would be an autocratic style of leadership. So what do these people value? They value power, protection, freedom, respect, control. Very much in control. They identify with being strong, courageous, risk takers, taking care of themselves. Very power centric. So it's all about them and retaining power and control, right? So you probably know somebody like that. Diplomatic, blue, is the traditional lens. This one is more about an authoritarian type of leadership. So there's somebody in charge that's telling people what to do, and people do it. It's compliance. What the diplomatic worldview values is stability, security, belonging, tradition, the tried and true, and they identify with being responsible, being purposeful, self-sacrificing, being loyal, predictable. So a lot of baby boomers, right, have a very traditional lens. Not all of them. So again, and we can have different parts of us that have different worldviews, but it's that very traditional lens. And we know a lot of people that are in that. Now, the achiever, the orange, this person is all around possibilities, right? And achievement. This is about being very strategic. They value excellence, advancement, achievement, status. It's a lot about status. I mean, what do they drive? What kind of house do they have, right? Where have they gotten in their life? And they identify with being competitive, very ambitious, autonomous, the elite, again, the elite status, the VIP, that's going to be our achiever. Now, the orange achiever, that drive is fueled by excellence, right? Competitiveness, sadness. The red is more motivated by power, respect. They want people to respect them just because of who they are, as it relates. So a little bit of difference between those two. And then the green is the pluralistic. And this means we see it from more than one perspective. We see it from the multiple perspective lens, very collaborative leadership where we work together. And these folks value connection, tolerance, cultural sensitivity, sustainability, right? So more of the working together. Everybody has value, and they identify with being non-judgmental. Equality is very important to them, and being socially and environmentally conscious. So you probably can think of people in your life that have those different world views. You probably think of people that you work with. And it's, you know, that's where we get into the conversation sometimes that we probably shouldn't get into about some of the things. And it's just because they have a different worldview. Again, there's no right or wrong. It's just how they view the world. So I want to give you a couple of more examples. So I really want you to connect to what this is. So the impulsive, this would be the person that would say something like, it's a jungle out there. Payback is a bitch. Everybody is entitled to my opinion, right? That's the kind of thought process for somebody that is an impulsive. Diplomatic, my country, love it or leave it. They don't want people talking bad about their country, right? Practice makes perfect. So keep doing what you need to do and it's going to be perfect. So keep at it. And there's no gray. It's black or white, right or wrong. For most people in that blue diplomatic. Now the achiever, their thought process is knowledge is power, right? So I'm going to learn everything that I can to go show what I've got. The good life comes from hard work and excellence. So they're gonna go all out. They're gonna worry about their grades, how much money they make, all of that. And second place is the first loser. Would be probably their motto. And then the pluralistic is all about coexisting, right? Simplifying, we are one. That's their world view. So interesting. So now that we have that, and again, just a quick overview of that, but now that we have that, how do we put that together with what we've already learned? So here's the 4 quadrants, right? The I, it's, we that we talked about. Here are all of the world views, and we're doing them as circles so you can see how this works. Now, we've talked about impulsive, diplomatic, achiever, pluralistic. The one we haven't talked about is the outer one, which is integral, which actually can observe and appreciate all 4 of the worldviews. That's what we want to get to. That's our ultimate outcome, is from an integral leadership perspective, is truly understanding and valuing all of the different worldviews, but also understanding that if we have people in our organization that have these different worldviews, and the behaviors are coming out in a certain way that's out of alignment with our processes and our culture, that's where that flat tire that I talked about shows up. And so being able to look at all of the things that are going on in our organization, that's where the power for us comes in, or for you, in understanding what kind of an organization are we? Because the more that you are aligned from a worldview, it doesn't matter which one, but whichever one it is, the more that you are aligned, the people, yourself, and the individual people, but the culture, the people, the behaviors that are showing up in the processes, the more that they're aligned, the easier it's going to be. And that's how we're going to engage and retain our people, because they are going to want to be part of that organization because it fits for them. It fits for them. So that's where this starts. So this is where you get to start thinking about, okay, so where are things out of alignment in my organization. So the question now is, where in your organization are things out of alignment? And you're starting to understand some of the things that are annoying you, because it's in that annoyance that's saying, yeah, that's probably not in alignment with what you believe and how you see the world. And that's where we've got to figure out what is the right answer for your organization. So the question is, what would the impact be in dollars if your organization was operating in alignment? So I want you to just take your best guess how much those flat spots are costing your company every year. Not only retention, but productivity, systems not fully utilized, people not being productive because they don't know how they fit, people calling in sick, not because they are sick, but because they are sick of not being seen and heard. Estimate that total cost for the year. Is it nothing? And I would be hard pressed to say that it would ever be. Is it, between $1,000 and $10,000, between $10,000 and $50,000, $50,000 to $200,000, $200,000 to $500,000, or is it over $500,000? And for a lot of organizations, it would be well over even $500,000 a year. It likely is significant for you. So now we've talked about understanding worldviews, understanding the quadrants and how to look at the whole picture. So we're going to wrap up here with 3 things you can do immediately so that your team doesn't even look for another job. Now, I'm going to just tell you up front, this probably isn't big newsflash stuff that I'm going to share with you. The question is, have you been doing it? So when things aren't working, you gotta go first. This is about things that you are willing to do. Because if you wait for somebody else to do something for everything to change, it probably isn't gonna happen. Because the only person we really have control over is ourselves. If you think you have control over somebody else, that is an illusion. So what are we willing to do? So the first suggestion that I have for you is start asking for feedback. Now, again, you should do this, however, are you doing it? How surprised would your team actually be if you ask them for feedback? So a couple of questions that I have for you, and again, you're going to get this presentation, the replay, so you can actually, if you don't get these all right now, you can refer back to them. You could change one thing about your job, team, the company, or me. So this is a question you would be asking to one of your team members. If you could change one thing about your job, team, company, or me, what would it be? Wow, what a great question. I wonder what you'll get. Anything in your work world that's less than stellar causing you frustrations or delays. Think about how much you can learn about that person, right? So we go back and we're learning about what's going on in their I quadrant. You're also learning about some of the stuff in the process. You're likely going to hear information about your culture. So you start to understand the picture of what's going on in your organization. On a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you? Wow. Do you know what it could mean for somebody to ask that question? That they actually care about my happiness? What can I do to make your job easier? What would that mean to somebody? What don't you like about my management style? So what are some of those blind spots that you have that you don't even realize, and you can't do anything about it until you know? How do you want to be rewarded? What's important to you? It's not always money. It's not. And if you were in my shoes, what would you change tomorrow and why? And my favorite question, if you get nothing else out of this, my favorite question, what do you need from me? What do you need from me? What can I do for you? How can I serve you so that we can get to the greater outcome, the why of our business? Ask for feedback. When you get off this webinar today, the first thing that I want you to do is go ask one of these questions to one person and see what you get, because it will expand your perspective. It will. So a couple other things that you can do. Make sure you're giving high fives, catching people doing things right. And of course, you know you should do that, but are you? Or are you spending more time talking to people about what you don't like or the things they are doing wrong? What you focus on expands. So go find reason to catch people doing things right. Give those high fives. People want to feel appreciated and valued. Trust me. Give time to those people. Go have a conversation instead of walking directly to your office in the morning. Stop. Ask them about their family. What's their favorite movie? What did they do over the weekend? Maybe bring them their favorite Starbucks order, right? Ask about their pets. Do you know if the people that work for you or with you, do you know if they have dogs or cats? Are they dog people or cat people? Do they like to hike? Do they like to fish? Spend some time. Now, you don't have to give it a lot of time. However, if somebody knows you care about them, they're going to feel more essential to the whole. That's how it works. But you got to be willing to go first and give something of yourself. And then as an organization or as a group or as a team, give back, right? Help people who need help. Feed the homeless. That's the spaghetti and meatballs there. Build a house, whatever it is, but spend some time giving back. And it also helps us individually understanding how much we have to be grateful for, spending time in that gratitude. And then finally, be vulnerable. Make yourself human. Many of us, I know this was my truth as a young manager, I was taught, right, I'm not supposed to be friends with the people that work for me. I'm not supposed to let them see that I don't know anything. I mean, all of this stuff, you know what? I'm human just like they are. I got the same issues that they do. And what I found is the more human that I was, the more that they would be there for me. So just some ideas. Share times that you failed and what you learned, right? Share what keeps you up at night and ask if anyone has any ideas. You don't have to be in it alone. They likely have the answers. Share the feedback that you got when you were doing the feedback exercise that we talked about. Share it with them. And then what you did with that feedback. Share a personal story. Let them see the person behind the boss. Be okay with not knowing the answer and figuring it out as a group and ask for their help. That's the perfect way to make that team, your team, feel essential or integral to the why or the vision of the organization. So think about what are some ways that you can be vulnerable. And I get that for a lot of people, vulnerability is scary, but we have a belief at High Five Leadership that vulnerability is the new strong. Because when we are authentic and we build authentic relationships with people, they're going to show up for us. The reason that I was a very successful leader in my corporate organization is because they knew I would be there for them. They knew I had their back. And they also knew I wasn't going to bullshit them. I was just showing up authentically as me. I didn't have all the answers. And if they didn't like how I did something, they told me and we fixed it. I didn't have to be about me. So there you go. Those are our 3 secrets. There's a lot of information that we just covered in the last hour. So I'm asking you to hold on for just a few more minutes because I made you a promise. So have you received value from this web class so far? Do you have something that you can walk out of your office as soon as you're done or as soon as you get to the next person or pick up the phone and call somebody, right? Whatever it is that you can do to start impacting your culture, your organization, your retention, your engagement today. And these are the things that we've covered, right? How an integral look at your business shows you what's been getting your attention. Those processes and procedures and systems probably getting most of your attention, and that's been leaving your team wondering why they are even there. And that's what's leaving the holes. We explored what it means to communicate consciously and how different worldviews affect our frames in different people's frames. So we're not looking at the same picture. And then what we just covered was 3, and one of them was actually another 2. So 5 things that you can do immediately to start to make your team feel essential to your business and to you. So my question for you is, are you ready for more? Because that clearly is just the tip of the iceberg, and you don't have to figure it out all alone. So what does it look like to work with High Five Leadership? This is what we do, and we help you do what you do better. And I'm going to tell you it looks different for everyone because we take an integral approach. We have to look at you as a person, you as an organization, to know what's going to meet your needs. So what are some things that we excel at? Where is our zone of genius? First thing is we do amazing transformational 3-day and 1-day programs. We do public classes so that individuals can come from organizations or personally, personal transformation. And we also do private classes for organizations where we can do intact teams. And like I said earlier, it's based on our formula of trust, transparency, teamwork. Because we know when we build trust in the environment, so the first trust we build is with ourselves, then we build it with each other. We are authentic, we are transparent, we tear down the walls, and we have a shared outcome of where we're going. That's what builds team. That's what builds special. That's what gets us to brand new results and new levels. That's what we excel at. And if that was the only thing you did with us, what would that be worth to your business, and what would that be worth to your life? To truly become a better leader, a better team member, a better parent, a better significant other, friend, to know yourself better than you've ever known yourself, to know how to strengthen all of your relationships, how to communicate better, and to have the tools to replicate your own high-performance team back at work and at home. What would that be worth to you? That's the first thing we excel at. This is one of our clients. Mike is the CEO and founder of AnchorWave, a digital marketing company. And this is actually from his second, our advanced class. And you can see his full testimonial on our website. But what Mike says is everyone in my company will go through this training. And he has sent almost everyone in his company, and as new people come on, he sends them to us. And what's cool about that is his company keeps growing. So these aren't replacements, these are new people. I just wanted to share that. So what else do we excel at? We excel at integral strategy and vision sessions. So what we're talking about today, whether it be personal and understanding our personal map, or the executive team, or the strategy of the organization. So we work to identify, refine the vision, purpose, and the values. So again, this is either personal, and it always includes personal as well as for the team. We assess all 4 of those integral quadrants, identify what's out of alignment, and put together an integral plan for growth. So you see we've got a chart in the lower left-hand corner. We go in depth as to where we got those bumps in our tire, where things are out of alignment. Oops. So this provides the map, and you are now looking at your business and your life through a completely different lens, and you see what is out of alignment, and you have a plan to bring it back into alignment. You can see bigger possibilities. And we also excel at individual and group coaching. So we have custom packages, or we have some preset. It's all about accountability to that integral plan. This is no bullshit. So we don't tell you what you want to hear. This is about getting something done, because otherwise it's a waste of your time, it's a waste of our time. That's not what we're about. We make sure that you have access to us, both email, Voxer. So 911, right? Emergency access, you got an issue that you need some help with fast, we're going to be there. Information, you need more information, we're going to be there as well. So this is about putting integral into action, because habits don't change overnight. One of my favorite sayings is leadership is a practice, not a position. And you have to practice it every day. Just like if you want to get good at playing the piano, you got to practice it. If you want to be a good leader, you have to practice leadership and the tools that we have every single day. So to put integral into action, we implement, we test, we celebrate the wins, we celebrate the learning, we change our approach, we stay focused, and we keep moving forward. We keep moving forward. So for us, This is just about scheduling an exploration call, seeing if there's any kind of fit for us to help your organization and making sure that we would work well together. And you can submit some information about your company and schedule a call through this website, and you'll see it there. You'll also receive that in an email, so you don't have to worry about necessarily writing it down right now. And the sooner you do that, the sooner we can get on the phone and we can create something for you and or your organization. So we offer a guarantee on every single one of our programs that you will get results. So this is about retaining, right, engaging your top talent. If we don't help you do that, if we don't help you understand and grow your business better, if we don't help you build a culture that you love, that creates value for you, then we'll refund your money. Simple as that. We're here to help you. That's what we're here for. And of course, the question then becomes, is it something you want to do now, or is it something for later? And only you can answer that question. And the one thing that I will caution you on or bring you back to is, what's the cost? So if you wait too long, how much is it costing you? Versus if we got started now, what can we be saving by creating that culture and the engagement and the retention? So we would love to get started with you right now. If it's later, that's okay. We're going to be here. We are on your team, and that's fine. But the sooner that we get started, the sooner that we get results, and the sooner you can do the things that you want to do in your life. It all starts with that conversation. There's the link again, bit.ly #5 explore, because this is just an exploration call. There's going to be no pressure. It's going to be, is this a good fit? Because that's going to be important for both of us. So you made it to get your free 60-minute personal integral vision introductory section, right? So there's only so much we can do in 60 minutes, but it's certainly going to open your eyes to a lot of stuff that's going on with you personally, and where some things are out of alignment, where that work can happen. All you need to do, happy to get on the phone, or actually we'll do it via Zoom and do this with you. So send an email to info@high5leadership.com and put in the subject integral free. That's it. All right, so I'm going to give you a second to write that down. Info@high5leadership.com, and in the subject put integral free. We'll get back to you. We'll get that scheduled, and we'll be thrilled to give you that free 60-minute session. So if there's any questions, you can chat them now, or at any time. If you're watching a replay, you can email those to barb@high5leadership.com. Those are going to come directly to me. I will answer them, and I'd be happy to do that as well. So if there's any questions, we'll take care of them now. And with that, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your time, your attention, for being with us today. This is something that you can tell I'm super passionate about, near and dear to our hearts, because it creates results for the organizations that we work for, and it's something that makes a difference in this world, and that's what we're all about. So thank you. Have an incredible day, and I look forward to speaking with you very, very soon. And as we say here at High 5 Leadership, choose joy.